Okay, on the count of three, everyone say their favorite video game. 1, 2,
Link to the Past. Okay. What's the best game console of all time? 1, 2,
Nintendo Virtual Boy.
Oh my god. Okay. Name the greatest lead character in gaming history. 1, 2.
Gex the Gecko.
What? Do we just become best friends?
Yep.
Do you guys want to go do some karate in the garage?
Yep. All right, I'll grab the nunchucks. Link to the Past. Welcome back to another edition of the Karate in the Garage podcast. I'm your host, Mason Merrill, and today on the podcast, we're playing Link to the Past for the Super Nintendo, as opposed to its sequel, Linked Into the Past, where Ganon is an IT manager with 30-plus years of experience trying to reconnect with his old college friends and maybe even advance his career late in the game. Joining me today is my co-host, Weston Toth. How's it going, man?
Hey, man. So the question is like, was Ganon like Pig Ganon in high school or college, or like when did he? You know, he's got a couple different forms. So who is LinkedIn Ganon?
No, see, he was Pig Ganon in high school and college because he played football. Okay,
oh,
so
true.
He was an offensive lineman, and then later in the year he started getting healthy. You know, as you do when you get into corporate America, and you know, just riding his Peloton all day long, and
he's slimmed up.
He's slimmed up, but he's still buff, you know. So he might be even vying for like the elderly version of The Bachelor or something like that, you know.
Oh man, I know. Dude, the funniest thing is like not all like it depends on what position you play in football, right? I mean, because some of these football players are just in tip-top shape, and other ones are just eating. Like if they're like an offensive lineman, you're powerful, but you're not in good shape, right?
Yeah, definitely.
And that's
Ganon
who he
was the offensive lineman. Yeah, for
exactly.
sure. Yeah. Anyway. Oh man, what's going on? How you doing?
Oh, doing pretty good. This is one of the first days weeks in the year where I kind of had a little bit more of a chiller yesterday and today. Actually, just came in from laying in our little kiddie pool in our backyard with my wife, just chilling out, listening to some music, and
nice.
Yeah. I mean, man, what a good day. And a good week for video games. Enjoyed this one.
Yeah, this is a good one. I have spent the last 2 weeks playing it to its very end, so I've finally beat it the other night. So I'm really prepared to talk about this one. But yeah, it's good stuff. So we've been putting some videos out on our YouTube. Check that out. Been opening some Pokemon cards.
Yeah, exactly. Really, it's been really fun. It's something that I've wanted to do for a while, but thankfully enough, I put the idea out to, you guys, and, you and me have both put out videos now, and you're, and I think Aaron will as well at some point, but it's just, opening Pokemon cards really gives you fun, entertainment. And so we're doing that a little bit on the Kitgpodcast, YouTube channel. So go over there if you're into Pokemon cards or just want to get some good reactions and see what we pull. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, it's a pretty big deal right now, opening Pokemon cards, and it gets really addictive, too. I'm like,
True.
I've got 8 more videos scheduled out here with the stock that I've got, and I'm sure I'll have more coming as well, so.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, looking to do some fun things over there.
No, so it's literally like playing the stock market or like gambling for adults. I mean, I'm sorry, for children. But yeah. we're adults and we're still doing it, and I still feel like the same rush that like we played the lottery and won. Every time I hit like a really big card, I'm like, yes.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, what's cool too is you have 8 videos worth coming out, and then once my the new set dropped, I think, or it's supposed to drop yesterday, and then I have 2 complete filled booster boxes coming to my house that are being shipped. I pre-ordered them, so I'll have 236 complete booster boxes that we're gonna open on the channel too. So it's gonna be lit, and there's some good cards on this new set. They have like an incredible like Charizard. They have like some 6 secret rares. It's gonna be really, really fun coming up here soon.
Yeah, have you pulled any secret rares yet?
So I've
ultra rare. Sorry, ultra rare.
So yes, I pulled a couple full art ultra rares, but I've never pulled a secret rare, which is basically, it's very similar to a ultra rare, except it's a rainbow edition, and that's just kind of like the creme de la creme to pull.
Yeah.
But yeah, full art ultra rares. I pulled quite a few of them.
Cool. Yeah, I've got a couple myself. But yeah, I'm still obviously we're always going to be looking for those secret rares.
Yeah, because there's a difference too, because I'm sure you know, is like there's reverse holographics, there's holographics, which are, I mean, obviously rare, but you have a chance of getting one every pack, and then there's what's called like GX cards, or like those would be, I guess those would be called like ultra rares. But then there's full art ultra rares, which is even more like they're textured. That's how you'll know, is it's a full art card, so the artwork is big and it's textured. And then there's secret rares, which is a full art version of that, but it's a rainbow rare. So it's like the card is just, instead of being colored, it's just like, it's kind of rainbow. It's just really cool. I've never pulled one of those, and I've gone through quite a number of packs thus far. So they must be really, really, really rare. I think since I bought a booster box, it's not guaranteed, but pretty much there should be one secret rare in each booster box, every 36 cards or whatever. So 36 packs.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. I'm gonna flip out if you pull that secret rare on the channel.
No, I'm gonna be recording every pack of every opening of those packs. So believe me, I'm gonna be dying.
Yeah,
it's gonna
be
awesome.
Great.
I'm literally getting excited right now. Like, I have some packs sitting right next to me, and I'm just like, oh god, I want to open them right now, but I can't. We gotta wait for the video.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so yeah, head over there. Look at all that stuff we got going on. I did an Iron Man review as well. Iron Man VR. We're going to talk about that a little bit on the podcast today, but for some more in depth and some gameplay on that, look that up. And then also I've got some other stuff in the works besides just some Pokemon cards. So we're trying to expand the universe and have some more fun on different platforms.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, we're going to be doing just more and more, I think, content in general. I actually streamed for the first time on twitch.tv /StreetFoxPK. That's my username.
Oh, cool.
On our account. But I think that we may just, we kind of talked about it this week, of just combining all of our efforts and just having a one-stop shop in KTG. So I think I'll have to get that set up, and I think we're just going to start doing that. But first stream I did in a long time. I had it set up because I did my card openings, and I just streamed some games that, we were playing. So definitely go follow us over there, and then you'll get a notification when we go live and come hang out. We'll just chat it up.
Awesome, man. That's cool. Yeah, we'll filter all that to YouTube and everything too. So cool. But for today, the long-awaited Link to the Past is what we are discussing. Woo-hoo. So just kind of a little bit of a rundown on this game itself. It is developed by Nintendo Entertainment, and it is the second in the series of the Zelda series. And I know I'm going to let Weston talk a lot on this one because he is a huge Zelda fan. This is actually my first full playthrough of Link to the Past, so it's pretty exciting. It was pretty exciting for me.
Wait, this is your first one, like, ever?
Full playthrough of a Zelda game, yeah.
Wait, like just any Zelda game?
Yep.
Oh, wow. Wow. So
yeah, I mean, I've played them all. Don't get me wrong. I played Twilight Princess. Or no, actually, I did beat Wind Waker, but I don't think that one really counts in the main line of Zelda.
You know, the funniest thing is that's the only game I haven't beaten all the way through.
Yeah, that's funny.
And
I really liked Wind Waker.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure that's the only one that I haven't. No, that's not true. I think I'm missing another one. I played Skyward Sword, the one on Wii, but I didn't play it all the way through, just beginning to end. We played mostly through it, but the problem is, at that point, me and my best friend / brother, besides you, he played it as well, so we were just playing it together. So I guess you could kind of say that we played through it together, or I played it, but I just didn't myself beat it from beginning to end.
Yeah,
but that's awesome. This one was a good one to start out on.
Oh yeah, it definitely was really fun. It came out in April 3rd of 1992, which I didn't realize how early in the Super Nintendo run this game was. But yeah, developed by Nintendo, and the designer was Shigeru Miyamoto, which he did a lot of Nintendo games at the time. We've talked about him a little bit on this podcast through some games and stuff. But basically, it was your basic adventure game, kind of RPG, but kind of not at the same time. It wasn't like your turn-based type in RPG. kind of thing. It was more of just adventure, fight what you see on the screen, and just dungeon based puzzle game.
Yep, exactly. I think that's a great way to describe it, because it's just like what's considered an action or straight up adventure game, as most of the other ones are. Is they're just considered, because and the cool thing about this was one of the first, like, quote unquote, or at least in my memory, is like actually like an open world, even though there was a progression that you're supposed to follow like in all the games. But there still was, like, you could kind of pretty much walk around most places and just find, like, I remember when I first played this game in probably 1995, like when I was 6 or maybe 1996 when I was like 5-6 years old. I just would wander around, and then you could wander in a place that was like too powerful, or you didn't have like the stats for, and they were really hard. But it was pretty, like, quote unquote open world, even though there was like a strict progression that you had to follow, because there was some gates where you had to have different items or like heart pieces to be able to proceed through. But it was it actually felt relatively big, at least it did back then, and even now, like, it wasn't a small game, especially by Super Nintendo standards.
Yeah, no, not at all. I thought the world itself, kind of getting into the presentation of the game, the world itself was big enough. It wasn't like a Final Fantasy world. It was, pretty condensed, where you could get across and back and forth to it. But the dungeons were really in depth, which was really cool to me, and it was a lot to figure out too. And the puzzle version of it almost felt like the original version of like escape rooms, in a lot of it.
Yeah, that's actually a good way to think about it. I never thought about that. Yeah, the cool thing about like these games, or at least this game to me, is it had a bit of everything. Like it had a lot of weapons and items, which was really nice. And then you'd run around. Like, the gameplay itself was pretty good, but it was less about like the actual fighting and more about like the puzzle solving and using your brain. And yeah, like kind of like escape rooms, because there's a lot of rooms where you'd go into and there would be a button, or you'd have to like kill a number of enemies and then place a bomb somewhere, or move like a item, like push a certain like door, like a little, like a door, or like a beam a certain way, and then it would open to the next, like the door would open, or you'd find the key. So you're right, it's very much escape room-ish. Even though you were battling along the way, I don't think that like combat was even necessarily the biggest part of this game to me.
No, it was more just finding the right path of going through the maze of the dungeon, and getting the right key to go in the door, and opening the doors in the right succession as well. And like you could get one key and continue on to get to the boss, but you didn't use the other key. You didn't pick up the other keys to pick up like the compass and the map and things like that. So there were kind of cut throughs where you didn't have to like do some extra stuff in the dungeons, but usually I think I did all of that and beat the dungeons to their fullest. So got the fullest experience you could have. So basically the story, though, is that you start out as Link, and you are sleeping in your bed, and you hear this telepathic call from Princess Zelda, who is captured in Hyrule Castle. And so you wake up in the middle of the night and you run there, and who was it? Your uncle meets you, and he's like, "Don't go into the castle, but here's a sword and shield to get you on your adventure." So you go in there and you capture and you rescue Zelda, taking her back to the sanctuary, where the priest is telling Link that he needs to about the sorcerer. What was his name?
Oh, I don't even know. It's
sorry. Let me find it. Aghanim.
Yeah.
And he is conspiring to take over Hyrule Castle and get these. And he's been doing experiments on these 7 different maidens that he's transferred to the Dark World. So, but in order to beat him, you have to achieve the Master Sword by collecting the pendants of virtue. So that's kind of the first half of the game where it starts, and you go into the different, the 3 different dungeons, collect those pendants of virtue. You're worthy of the Master Sword at that point, and then you go and have your first battle with Aghanim.
Right.
And from there, you beat him, and you end up going to the Dark World, and which is a realm that used to be known as a sacred realm, but Ganondorf had inhabited it and totally turned it on its head and into the Dark World.
Right, exactly.
Yep, and then you go on to beat the 7 dungeons there, into Ganon's dungeon, only to lead you to the middle of the pyramid in the Dark World, where you end up with your final battle with Ganon, beat him, rescue the princess. All is done. All is well.
Man, I'm not gonna lie, that was a pretty good roundup of the entire game. Like, there was a lot. I mean, this game was pretty a lot. And but the one thing just I want to add to that is just the story in general is this is a prequel to the original Zelda and Zelda 2. Like Zelda, The Legend of Zelda and Zelda 2, The Adventure of Link. And this is like within it says here this is within the official the timeline, is the first game in the Heroes Defeated timeline that connects to an alternate reality scenario that the Hero of Time, which is Link, by the way, does not succeed in Ocarina of Time. So this was all these games like kind of come together, but this is just like the Dark World, and like in this other period is kind of like a prequel where this is like a different timeline because they don't all technically flow together.
Yeah,
in every game. So it's just it would get a little confusing if you don't just kind of say that out there because you normally in most Zelda games it's always about, and just like even Wind Waker, it's just basically like Ganondorf is back and you have to or Ganondorf and you have to defeat him, like, and he has the Triforce, he takes over and he's basically trying to spread darkness, or in like Twilight Princess, Twilight or whatever, darkness all over the world, and you have to beat him. Zelda's the one who's who like basically like she's always captured at some point.
Yeah.
And then but you have to use her because she's one of the only ones that can use the Triforce power as well.
Yeah, definitely. It's kind of like I would say it's kind of like a mix between like a Final Fantasy type scenario and how Mario's format is, where Bowser captures the princess, you have to save the princess, and but in the Final Fantasy vein, it's not different characters every time. It's a different story, but same characters over and over again. And they've done it in such a unique way that it makes the games really fun and interesting.
Yeah, exactly. It's there are timelines that flow together from one of these games to the next, but all of them basically have, the hero, or the Hero of Time, as he's called in like Ocarina of Time, which is Link. And then Zelda, which is the one, like she's the princess of Hyrule, and she also has she can use like the Triforce power and like for her willing. And then Ganon, who is always able to somehow get the Triforce and spread darkness, or use it to like wreak havoc throughout the land. So your entire thing is gathering different powers or orbs or whatever, and then going to defeat Ganon and then getting the Triforce back to him to restore peace. That's like pretty much always the storyline.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's funny because starting with Ocarina of Time, Ganondorf was really the main bad guy, but in this game he was almost like the hidden main antagonist of the game because Aghanim was the guy who was doing all the work on the front of it, but it was really all leading back to Ganon in the Dark World. So that was kind of interesting, and I remember that kind of like watching friends play this as a kid and seeing the ending and being like, oh, who's this Ganon guy all of a sudden, this big giant pig? Did Aghanim turn into Ganon? Like, what happened here? And it's actually a different character. He was just overruling the whole thing. So
yeah, exactly. And even in other ones that aren't like Ganon focused, Ganon pretty much always shows up at the end, and he's like has something to do with it. I'm pretty sure he's in every, or like maybe 90% of all of the Legend of Zeldas. Yeah. I think the only one maybe is Majora's Mask, potentially.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah, but I mean, all the, like he's just around. Like he's, even if like there's another bad guy that like is focused on at some point, like Ganon always ends up showing up. That's just the way it goes.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so this game, it as far as like kind of the gameplay itself, the combat system and things like that, you're running around with the sword, you're collecting all these items to help you along in your adventure. You start with the just the fighter's sword. Obviously, you get the master sword, and then throughout the game, you get the master sword level 2, which is the tempered sword. And then at the very end of the game, you can in the pyramid, there's a fountain that you blow up the wall with the master bomb, or the super bomb, and you can get the golden sword. So that's the evolution of the swords. and obviously each sword is stronger as you go, and then you upgrade your shield. You have the fighter shield to the red shield to the mirror shield at the very end, which just helps you reflect things. And then your clothes change. You got the green to the blue mail to the red mail. Yeah, so you have all these items that kind of help you out through all the dungeons that make things easier as you go along the game. And the medallions obviously help you get into different dungeons and things like that. So as far as the gameplay goes, though, how did you feel? Was it pretty smooth to you, or was it like awkward at points, or just overall?
Yeah, it's pretty smooth overall, but I think the one thing that this is like a problem up until like I'm trying to think like what game solved this. Probably just when it went to like probably Ocarina of Time for me is I don't like how like when you were trying to hit enemies, like when you hit them they would go back, but you couldn't move and swing your sword at the same time. Which is like
that's true.
It was just really, yeah. I didn't really love that because the enemies would move, right? They'd be moving, and if they hit you or jumped on you, you would be hurt. But you couldn't move and like swing your sword at the same time. So and a lot of times when you'd hit an enemy, they would be pushed back. So you actually had to like swing your sword, move, swing your sword, move, and then if multiple enemies were moving at the same time, it kind of made you like it made me feel like that I was planted every time I swung my sword. And then especially if there was like a couple enemies coming at me from different ways, it wasn't like the easiest thing to like fight one or move and then switch like which side my sword was at. I didn't love that, and I've never loved that. It's just but it's one of the things that they just had for these first couple of games. But like to go along with that, the items, like for instance, like the boomerang felt really good, or like using your bow and arrow. All you had to do, like, because that, and bow and arrow makes sense. Like, if you pick up like a different, whichever way you want to shoot, and you know, like almost like you'd have to like plant your feet to like pull your bow back. Like that felt fine for some reason. Or the boomerang, like you could like throw it and then it would like go out and come back to you, so you could like get rupees and stuff like that. That felt really good as well. But just having the ability to use and it became less of a problem when you got the better sword, because it would have like a little bit of it had like the like when you sliced it, it would go out with like a little bit of magical power.
The beam.
The beam.
Yeah, just like you said, if you had full life, that would shoot that projectile that wasn't as strong as your sword, but could beat up the enemies, and you could shoot it over and over again as you were running.
Exactly. So you could hit him once and then just like start slashing the air, and it would be going out. So that felt a little bit better, but just in the pure honesty sense of the gameplay, that was like I just didn't like that, because it made it feel awkward when you were constantly pushing back enemies, having to run towards them as people they're running towards you, and if you mistimed it, it just got kind of be annoying at certain points, especially when you didn't have that much health in the beginning. Like I didn't like it.
Yeah. And I agree with that. It's funny because I thought the projectiles, like you said, in this game were done really well. The hook shot, the boomerang, the arrows, the bombs, even, throwing the bombs. I thought that was pretty smooth and could get you out of a lot of tight situations. But I definitely understand what you're talking about when you say the close combat was a little bit more annoying, like you said, especially in the beginning where you didn't have that life. As you started collecting those heart pieces, your life filled up pretty quick, which was nice. And eventually, as the evolution of the game went, you just became like super strong, which was awesome.
Yeah, as it should be, right? And that's awesome.
Yeah.
Especially because if you took a little time to do some of this, like just explore, you would find heart pieces. Like just if you said, because there's, for instance, like the bomb, you could place it on any sort of cracked wall, and if you're just running around, you would just randomly see a cracked wall, and you'd be like, oh, what's in here? And it would always be like rupees, or like some bombs and arrows, or just like things that would be perishable. And then also it would be there'd be heart containers. So if you just went out of your way, like once you had like 10 or so hearts, it felt that it wasn't as much of a problem. But in the beginning, when you had 3 hearts and you're trying to get through the first, or 4 hearts or so, trying to get through the first dungeon or 2, it was like, oh, this is annoying.
Yeah, no, I agree with that for sure. But that's where the game really started to open up for me, was like, and I think I had attempted back in the day to play Link to the Past, and it was just so annoying because I kept dying, not having a whole lot of life. But when you really started to collect those, that's where the game opened up to me. I'm like, oh, this is really fun,
Totally.
And there wasn't a leveling system in this game, but your equipment was basically your leveling system, right?
Exactly.
So each time you got the leveled up your glove, or you got the Pegasus shoes, or the flippers, or the mail, or the different swords, you would become just so much more powerful, which really helped you, at the end of this game, because it's like in Ganon's Tower, you end up fighting the three. You end up finding the three original bosses when you're collecting the pendants again in that tower, but you have the Mirror Shield and the Master Sword at that point, and they're just a couple hacks and they're all gone. But at first, when you're first fighting them, it's like, oh man, these guys, that was a tough battle, sure. In the first three there. But as you evolve, going through, especially at the end of the game, you're like, oh man, this was pretty easy. It was just like knock them off, no big deal. And that was kind of the mind block for me when I saw those first bosses and it first started. I was like, oh, I have to fight them all again. Oh, this is gonna stink. But as you started playing, you're like, oh, okay, I really see how I've evolved into this really strong person, and you just slash through them. So
yeah, I completely agree
with this. Yeah, especially with that first boss, if you had the silver arrows at that point, which you should have, you could hit him one-shot kill. There's 6 of them, and you just 6 arrows, and you're done with that boss.
Wait, I didn't have the one shot. It took me 30 arrows.
No, the first boss is what when you fight him in Ganon's Tower.
Yeah, when you're in Ganon's Tower.
Yeah.
Okay. I thought you were talking about the first time around. I was like, what? Like, I thought you got the silver arrows. Like, I don't remember getting like. Was there some sort of hack that you knew that I didn't?
No.
Okay.
No,
Yeah.
So it was super hard the first time, right? But the second time, it was like 6 arrows and they're done.
Yeah, I actually, the first time around when you just had because I had a full stack of arrows, I think 30 at the time. I used literally 29, and I had 1 arrow left, and when I beat the boss, and I was like, oh my goodness, I was close. But you're right. After you have the silver ones, they were just easy peasy. Because they took, I think, 5 shots each before, and so you're basically 500% stronger with the silver arrows.
Yeah, for sure. So, yeah, but it was cool. They had a lot of unique type things in this game. It was really the game at points was super fulfilling. Like when you got that Master Sword, that was the first big tick on the game, right? So you're
very
like,
true.
oh yes, I have the Master Sword. This is awesome. And then you get that red shield. You toss you get your flippers from Zora, which is pretty cool because you meet the big Zora and grants the power of swimming in kind of that hidden area where that rests, and then you swim over to that waterfall, go into the secret cave, toss your shield in there, toss your boomerang in there, and get the upgraded magical boomerang and the red shield, which for me that was super fulfilling. I was like, this is awesome. You really start to feel those type of points in the game where things start shifting.
Yeah, so this is a side note. This is how all Zelda games are. Is basically the way that you feel more powerful is through equipment and through health. And through how much health you have. Because this is the same way. Because the last one that I played besides this was Breath of the Wild, the one on Nintendo Switch. Which, by the way, I highly recommend. I played that from start to finish within a week or whatever, and just absolutely crushed it. It was a phenomenal game, but it was the same exact. They've taken the same model because you know why? It works. It feels good.
Yeah.
Every time you get a piece of gear, you feel substantially stronger. And in this game, was exactly the same. When you did get the magical boomerang, or you got the you ended up getting in Ganon's Tower, you got the red mail. I didn't know statistically what it was, but I'm just looking up here. The red mail is the 3rd and final tunic, obviously. So is the one that you get in Ganon's Tower. It reduces Link's overall damage by 75%. So even though you had a lot of health, you were still just taking less damage from enemies. 75% from what you originally started out with. That's a massive increase, and you felt it. It was substantial even from the blue one. So
yeah, for sure. So that was just a really well done aspect of the game, because a lot of times I think that's where things kind of get in the weeds with games these days, especially with leveling systems and things like that. It's there's not enough effort put in, and then they overdo it, and then you're you just disregard most of that because you can still beat the game without of it, or at least I do sometimes, when I'm playing different games. But it was really a vital aspect. There was no level point you were looking for. It was just get some health and upgrade your equipment, and you're gonna do well in this game. So
yeah, absolutely.
I thought that was worth talking about for a little bit there. Now just let's see. We talked about the dungeons, the bosses. They were all pretty unique. I maybe, like I said, going back to equipment, bosses got easier, and especially some of those in the Dark World, like the boss 4 and 5 and 6 and 7, they were not hard at all. Like I think that could have been a little bit more difficult, because those first were just so straight out of the gate difficult, and then when you're in the Dark World, I'm expecting some more difficult stuff, and the first one was pretty difficult to me, but after that I kind of just sailed through them. It wasn't much to write home about at that point.
Nice. Yeah. So which is kind of, again, like, which is kind of very similar to which it's really similar to even like the way that like new Zelda games play, is like the first couple bosses are more difficult, and then as you get like some upgraded powers, like for instance in Breath of the Wild, if you try to go, like for instance there's like these ancient beasts and you have to defeat all 3 of them. If you try to do one of the harder ones first, like you can basically, there's a hard road or a not hard road. But in the end, if you do it like kind of correctly or in succession of what, like how they, people say to do it or they say to do it, like once you get, like you start powering up, like it's not really that hard. It's just, and also you're used to the controls, you're used to the game. If it's supposed to be that way, I'm not exactly sure, but that kind of just feels like every Zelda game in general, because you played it long enough where you just kind of understand what's going to happen. And this one was, it's 1992 programming. They have a set. They programmed pretty much a lot of these guys to react very similar to, how you're going to be. So you kind of just expect what's going to happen after what? Because once you get in the Dark World, you do 1, 2, 3, 4.
7.
It's 4 bosses into the Dark World, or 3. 4. Yeah.
When you're in the Dark World, there's 7 dungeons.
No. Up 7. Until, because it's the night. Oh, yeah, it's 4. The night. Yeah. Landmola, Moldworm, and then Aghanim, the sorceress, and then all the Dark World ones too. So yeah. But I mean that's like a good chunk of the game. Like let's just say like 40% of the game that you've already played. So you kind of, and you're more powerful. So I don't know. It's okay.
Yeah, no, I think where the real difficulty came with these games is just the finding your way, through these dungeons and getting to those points, finding that big key. Getting the items within the dungeons and things like that too. So I think little more focus on making the bosses harder for me, but I still wasn't mad about it, because I was like, oh, okay, moving on to the next one. I just spent all this work on the dungeon. The boss was just an easy payoff.
Well, when's the last game that you played that was just super hard that you enjoyed, like harder than this one was, I guess?
Oh man, Final Fantasy VII probably.
Okay, yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, it was pretty hard at points, and there's a lot of redos I had to do. And
yeah,
like that,
but think about this, like that. Just going back to our previous point, that like at least when I played Final Fantasy, it was gated by level and
yeah.
So like when I played my first intro into Final Fantasy, which was like probably heresy from your standpoint, because you played all 7 and 8, which are like obviously incredible. I played my first one was 10, and when I played 10, I did this thing where I played it, like I would play it and it was like kind of difficult, but I was pretty much playing it, and then I would hit one boss that was so hard, and it really was difficult, but I either had to figure out like a crazy good strategy, or I would just go back and just grind out levels, and once I got a couple more levels, it was easy. So whereas like a system like this, it's just gated more like just by combat skill and items, but pretty much you're gonna have the items. You don't have to just sit there and just grind out. I kind of like this system better. To know, could have been a little harder maybe, but at the same time, like it's not gated by you just going out and slashing like enemies for an hour and then you could beat the boss like Final Fantasy was.
Yeah, and I think, especially the new age Final Fantasies, like Final Fantasy VII for the PlayStation 4, have taken that toll, or that kind of thing, because it's not just hack and slash and grind it out to level up anymore like it used to be. It's a more of a, your leveling is just more of a progression of how hard the game is. So I 100% agree with that, because grinding it out to level up is so annoying.
Yeah, and I mean, it's not that I haven't enjoyed that or people don't enjoy that, just like the grind process of and that being time consuming. But there wasn't level difficulties in these games back then. It was kind of just like a standard like difficulty level versus like obviously the new Final Fantasy or whatever, you choose a level. You choose like, do you want it just to be like kind of like you just want to listen to the story, or do you want it to be legit hard where you do have to grind,
Yeah, it was kind of just an all one progressive game. With this.
Exactly.
So, as far as kind of the sound goes, I think the only annoying point for me was the low life, which I had a low life a lot. It would be like dee, 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 dee. Super annoying. Yeah,
over and over again,
and it was at 3 hearts. I'm like, could you just do that at like 1.5 hearts, turn that on, and let me know I'm almost, but it was at 3 hearts you would start the dinging process, and it was super annoying.
But I do have to say is, I think the reason that it's kind of good that they put that in there in a weird way is whenever you got to like let's say when you had 3 hearts, it'd be like 1 heart, and when you got more, it'd be 3 hearts. When you got to that spot, and I felt that like coming on, like when I was low health, it was legit like made me start playing worse though. I was like, oh god, I got low health, and I think that's what they wanted. They wanted to happen is like it to kind of like terrify you a little bit, and it did.
Yeah,
it worked for me.
Yeah.
I understand why they did it, but it was annoying. By the way.
Yeah, it would just, especially like if you were in a dungeon without, you're just trying to grind out through a dungeon and be really careful, because you couldn't find any health at the time,
Oh yeah,
and you just had to go through like 70% of a dungeon with 3 hearts, that was just got super annoying after a while.
Very true.
But if they could have done something to make that sound not as bad. But as far as all the other sounds, the when you pick something up, the da 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 da, kind of sounds that are iconic to this day. Really cool. I really enjoyed the soundtrack to the game overall.
Yeah. Obviously, like whenever you're in the one that I always think about is when you're in the fairies fountain. It's like do 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 do.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Yeah.
It's like it's like really soothing. And then when you're in the just out in the land and you have like the main theme, and it was all good. And to me it was all good, except I completely agree that the low health, like it would get a little triggering from time to time for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
It wasn't the best.
No. Going to the graphics and the animation, I loved it. I thought the world was really well drawn, really not over the top. It was staying in its lane with the graphics that it had at the time, and the kind of between cutscenes and after you beat a boss, and things were really cool, and it just kind of it had that Nintendo-ish feel with just super smooth all the way around.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. Every area and every dungeon felt different, but they textured like because obviously all this is just textures and trying to add like enough to make it feel real and feel like a legit dungeon or circumstance, and it did. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was good.
Except whenever Link was on the side, like the way that his like kind of like feet kind of flippered back, it kind of makes him look like he has like scuba shoes on or something.
Yeah, or like he was kind of wearing a dress a little bit, but I don't know what they could have done better with that, to like.
Yeah,
help it.
I don't hate it, by the way. It's just funny because he kind of looked like he was like he is like an elf, but he was like a little waddling goblin, and I don't know. It wasn't perfect, but it was definitely not bad.
Yeah, I really liked how all the items looked. I like the animation on the shields, and just the bow and arrow and the boomerang. Simple, but just really nicely animated.
Yeah, for sure. Enjoyed it all.
Yep. And then I think one of the breaking points of the game was when you got the flute in the light world, and you could just finally travel around the world without having to run everywhere.
Oh God, yes.
Yeah, that just made the game so much better. And obviously, you would fly. There were points like to get to the Misery Mire, which was like the swamp one dungeon in the Dark World. You would have to go to the light world, summon the flute, fly to the desert in the Dark World or in the light world, and then hit the portal to go to the Dark World from there. So you had to use points in the light world to get to places in the Dark World. So I thought that kind of strategy and that they laid out the game that was all inclusive. It just wasn't like you're moving on to the Dark World and you're there for the rest of the game. It was a cool fluctuation.
Yeah, I mean, dude, the ability to be like, oh, how do you get there? And then you realize, oh, if I like, I teleport to the dark world using, I mean, once you had the
Yeah.
mirror too, then like when you teleport, you're actually on top of like a platform you couldn't get to before. That's so cool.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
It was
for sure.
super well.
Done very well. Very good overall game here, especially for that time frame. And just as a note, Koji Kondo did the score for this game, and he literally has done every other video game. He worked on Smash Ultimate, so
Oh, really?
he's been with Nintendo for a long time. Did all the Mario games, Star Fox, just everything in between with Mario and Zelda. So he's been around for a long time. But anyway, so let's see. Is there anything we missed as far as like a roundup on this game?
No, I don't think so. Let me just go down our list here. Got the sound. I mean, world size. Yeah, I don't know. I think there's not much to say about this game. This was like a perfect game for the Super Nintendo.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, for sure.
And just some kind of fun facts before we move on to rate the game. This was the first sword that the Master Sword, or the first game that the Master Sword appeared in. The Link to the Past was actually not the original name of this game. Let me see if I can find it here. It was named differently in Japan. It was called Legend of Zelda: The Triforce of the Gods, but was changed for the United States version to Link to the Past because censorship guidelines discourage religious content. So that's kind of interesting. Yeah, so it was originally Triforce of the Gods, which is makes a lot of sense because the whole game was driven on the Triforce, And let's see, I got some other kind of facts here.
So I wonder, by the way, if that's changed now, because obviously there's the God of War games that are centered around of like mythology and gods and religious overtones or whatever else like that, and that it doesn't seem like they have a problem with any of that. Or Devil May Cry is literally like he's in hell and stuff like that. So, I wonder if some of that censorship changed. But obviously, this was in the '90s when Christianity was more prevalent. So,
yeah, and especially like putting that out to kids and things like that.
Yeah, sure. I don't know.
So this was the first game where a member of Link's family was shown, and there are two other games that did this. Do you know what they are?
Link's family
in
was
the series
shown?
Yeah, a member of Link's family, which was his uncle in the very beginning. There were two other games in the series. A little trivia for you.
I think Wind Waker was one of them.
Ding, ding, ding. That is correct.
Yeah, because he was, remember, like in the first of the game, he was in his village and he had just like celebrated his birthday or something like that.
Yep.
And then what was the other one?
It would be Zelda the Minish Cap. I've never played that one.
I never played that one.
Game Boy Advanced.
Yeah, but by the way, I'm not like, I'm just when I say I've played all the games, I don't count all of the Game Boy
Game Boys.
Advanced. Yeah, I'm just talking about like mainland, which is like Super Nintendo, N64, GameCube, and Wii and Switch. So I did not play all of those, even though they got by the way, those games got like rave reviews, and we definitely should at some point play those, but I haven't.
Yeah, they actually remade on Switch. Which one was it? It was a Game Boy one. It was the Game Boy one.
Yeah, and again, I think that got like 10 out of 10. Let's switch.
Yeah.
The Two Swords. Link's Awakening.
Yeah, maybe. Link's Awakening. Yeah, that was a Game Boy game originally.
Yeah, and that one got like dumb good reviews, like 4.7 out of 5, 5 out of 5, 4.8.
Yeah, man, I want to get that eventually and play it because it has a similar format to this game. So because I did play parts of Link's Awakening because I had the original Game Boy and that was one of the games I had on it. But obviously, as a little kid, I never beat it.
Yeah, I mean these are a little bit complex for youngins for sure.
Yeah.
This game looks really good.
Yeah,
surprised maybe I just like missed it. I was too busy at that time when this came out because this is it's got rave reviews. It's still $60 though. Whew.
So let's rate this game with, I think the only thing to do is swords, maybe, or shields. I don't know.
Or Triforces.
Triforces. All right. Yeah, that is the center point of the game. So that would only make sense. I am going to give this a 9 out of 10.
Yes. And I'm just gonna follow it because we're gonna have the same one. 9 out of 10. This was my rating that I had on it. It wasn't. I don't think it was perfect, but man, it just had everything. Especially like just the time it was. It had like legit. It had story. Even like in the beginning of the game, it had weather effects. It had all the bosses were good. The progression of the game felt good. The items were nice. The world was big, like it wasn't small and it was open. I don't know. It's 9 out of 10 for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, cool. Well, this is a game to close the book on, but I'm really glad that I got to at least play this once in life and beat it because it was really fun and a really engaging game overall. So, good times.
Yep, absolutely.
All right, man. Well, we've been doing a lot of Nintendo recently, so let's kind of talk about what we want to do next week. I think we should get away from Nintendo for a few weeks here.
Yeah, I think so too. I think we should do something Sega Dreamcast.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. You want to do? Do you want to do Sonic Adventure?
Yeah, I was thinking about that. I mean, if you and Aaron both have a little bit of time to dedicate, I think that it would be a cool thing to do. That Sonic Adventure would be nice. The other ones that we could do would be, let me look here. Let's turn to the Gauntlet, aka the internet. I know that at some point, Aaron's gonna want to do Resident Evil. I know that was a big one. Oh, yeah, so there's also Skies of Arcadia that I've never played and would be kind of fun. That's an RPG.
Okay.
We could do
that sounds like a longer game, though.
Yeah, probably. Either that or Virtua Tennis games. We haven't done that in a while.
Yeah, let's do that. Virtua Tennis.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's either Sonic or Virtua. If we do a sports game, it should be some sort of tennis game.
All right, let's do that. We haven't played a tennis game on the podcast, so that sounds good to me.
Okay, cool. Yeah, let's do that. That one's we could probably play. Hopefully, maybe just play that alone or play it together. But either way, is one of the more toply rated Dreamcast games. So let's see if it holds up.
Cool. Sounds good. Okay, so kind of the next point I wanted to talk about was last week Iron Man for VR came out. And this game has really surprised me, I've got to say. It's definitely, I wasn't going to get it at first, and then I kind of read a couple reviews on it, and it really has lived up to everything that I read, and it's been really fun. So I just wanted to mention that and talk about that for a little bit. It's one of those games where you think you would get sick playing a game like this, but you kind of steer the game with your head, actually. So it really cuts down on the motion sickness, which has been really fun, and it's just overall made really well.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
So wait. So you control the head, meaning like wherever you. So I'm guessing you're flying, and if you go down or up, that's where your body goes.
Yeah, exactly. So you kind of like,
oh, nice.
You kind of steer with your head, and that really cuts out a lot of the motion sickness because if the game's moving and your eyes are not, that's where you hit the motion sickness. But if you're steering with your head and things like that and moving around, it really helps cut that down, and it makes it a lot fun too. It's basically I did a little game review on our YouTube, but it's basically the as close as you can get of an experience of wearing an Iron Man suit, and it's done really well.
Nice. Yeah, that's really cool. So, man, that makes a lot of sense because whenever, like, for instance, I played VR and I was like moving my body right, but I was trying to turn my head left, that's when your brain goes, hey, this doesn't feel good. Like something's off.
Mm-hmm.
Like your brain knows that it's not supposed to react that way. Because I don't know if it's just because you don't have the sensation of actually like moving your body. But with that, like if it's just your head moving and that's where you're going to move, I'd imagine that feels really good.
Yeah.
And not sickening at all.
Yeah, no, I played it, for over an hour straight. And there's these little through the game to kind of get you used to the suit and things like that. There's courses that you do in this in the area in the water outside of Tony Stark's mansion off the coast, and it's really cool because you kind of get a good feel of the game and fly around and things like that. And this story, I'm still getting into the story, but it's pretty cool too. So definitely really fun. And if you have a PlayStation VR, it's a game changer. It's probably the best game I've played on PlayStation VR so far.
Really?
Yeah, just because it's like No Man's Sky is really fun, but it wasn't originally designed for VR. Skyrim's fun, but it wasn't originally designed for VR. This game was solely made for VR. You can't play it without a VR headset. So
very nice.
So every move they made with making this game on a big budget like Marvel was made for that headset in those Move controllers, which is really cool. So
that's really nice. Yeah. Huh. Cool. I like to play it sometime.
Yeah, definitely. It's like I said, it's cool because you're like moving around and you use your hands to kind of hover, and then you put them behind your back, and that'll get you going fast and with the triggers, and then you can do like the Iron Man punches and and then you tilt your wrist down, you can shoot missiles. The suit itself is fully customizable, so through unlockables throughout the game, so you can unlock things with this in-game currency, not microtransactions, but you build up as you do challenges and things like that, and then you can unlock different things, so you can really customize your suit out, which is cool.
Nice. Yeah. So it's basically it's pay to play, meaning like you just I'm sorry, it's not pay to play. It's you play to spend your actual in-game credits.
Yeah, it's like having rupees in Zelda, and then
you don't have to buy anything, or there's no like shortcut, or you don't need to upgrades. That's cool.
No, and then there's some cool skins for the suit too. You don't really look at the suit other than just being on your body. There's no like, hey, there I am right there on the screen. But yeah, there's different things for the suit too. And this game was actually made in Unity, which is pretty cool. Like for such a streamlined engine to develop on, they've made it shows you can make a really good game on that engine.
Yeah. I'm just watching this little like gameplay of it right now, and it doesn't look like it's not as good as Unreal 5 obviously, but it looks really, really clean.
Yeah, no, it's clean. It's not it's not like, this is so realistic, I feel like I'm in a real virtual world. You're in a video game world, but you feel like you're in the video game world in that Iron Man suit and the different feels to it and stuff. It's pretty cool when you like there's the first big mission in the game, your enemy blows up your ship or blows up your airplane, and you have to jump out of the airplane and call the Iron Man suit from the airplane. So like you hold out your arm, cool. And the gauntlet hits you, like kind of like he does in the movies and stuff, and it like really hits you. It's really cool. It's fun. Makes you
That's awesome.
Have that feeling. So it's a good time. If you have a PlayStation VR and are hesitant about getting it, definitely pick it up, because it's one of the, like I said, it's like the best game I've played on there so far. So
nice, beautiful. Yeah, I mean, this gameplay looks sick, and it does not look sickening even watching it, just because again you're going towards where like he's tilting his head.
Yeah,
which is really cool.
Yeah, it's cool. It's fun.
Can you control how fast you're going?
Yeah. You use your
boosters.
Yeah, you use your hands and the boosters, and then there's an ultra boost too. You click the triggers twice, and it'll really boost you, but you have to do it at the same time, or else like part of your body will go and the rest of it won't, so it's
nice.
I think my biggest thing is like while I'm flying, getting down the shooting, because so like you hold wherever you're holding the thruster, it'll keep you going, and then you can shoot as you're going. But if you're off balance, it'll really mess up your flying and things like that. So there's a pretty good feeling, and there's definitely some learning curve to the suit. It's not like you jump in and like, hey, I'm Iron Man now. You got to actually learn how to use the suit as you're playing.
Yeah, that's good though, because I can imagine just like any other thing, like if Iron Man was real, it would take a little bit to get like used to the suit. You couldn't just hop in that thing and straight up be fighting Thanos, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, exactly. You crash into mountains and things like that, which is cool, which is fun. It's like you said, like you don't want to be like ultra good at using the suit straight out, because it's not realistic.
It's not rewarding.
Yeah, rewarding or realistic in that sense. So
true.
A lot of depth to this game, more than I thought it would be, and I've been playing it pretty regularly at night after the kids go to bed, and it just gets too late to keep playing, so it's been that fun. So
wow,
it's cool.
Very nice.
Cool. So yeah, is there anything else you wanted to discuss? There was like a Stadia Connect thing yesterday, but we'll wait for Aaron to come back. I don't want to talk about Stadia today.
Yeah, this podcast is not brought to you by Stadia because our resident Stadia user, which we are not, should be pulling up or did pull up pretty, at this time of this recording of the podcast. So he's got to set up his house, and then he'll be hopefully ready to go next week with you. Hopefully he'll be in studio to be able to do that. But
definitely.
Yeah, I've never, maybe one day I'll play Stadia, and then, when he talks about it, I understand what he's saying, even though. But as of right now, this podcast is not sponsored by Stadia.
Not today, no. But there was a Stadia Connect, so go watch that, and then we'll talk about it next week.
Cool.
Or we won't.
I think we're coming right at an hour though, so we're good to go.
Yeah, I think there was an announcement of a follow-up series to the Clone Wars. Coming to Disney Plus in 2021. I haven't seen all of the Clone Wars, but what I have seen of it, it's really good, and has a lot of Darth Maul story. So if you're looking for more Darth Maul, go check that out. But it's a follow-up series coming to that, so that'll be pretty cool. And I really want to get into the Clone Wars series when my kids are a little older, especially my oldest son, when he can really understand it and enjoy and want to watch it. So watch that with him, and then check out this new series as well.
Yeah, I've watched quite a bit of it, but I haven't seen it like from front to back. But either way, animated series, and it's basically by as one of the producers for Mandalorian.
Yeah.
Has a bunch of the people that have made other Star Wars things that are legitimately good.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So
it's not an off
one
team.
that we're gonna watch.
It's the A team in here making the TV stuff. So.
It's called Star Wars The Bad Batch, which is so funny because when I first read this, I just read Star Wars The Bad Bee.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wow, this is really, really like,
for
explicit for kids shows, but it's The Bad Batch. So
that's right. All right.
Just like Pumpkin Patch.
Yeah. Oh man. All right. Well, this has been a fun episode. Check out Virtua Tennis next week. That'll be an interesting one.
Man, if this game is actually pretty decent, we're gonna have 3 in a row. We didn't have 3 in a row because we had the other Star Fox, but we're on a roll with some decent games we play. I've been really enjoying the ones. So
yeah, it's been fun the last few weeks because we had a couple snooze fests before that. So
for sure.
But Michael Jordan wasn't too bad, but before that,
very true. Very true.
Yeah, so cool. Let's see. There's one more thing in my head. I don't know. Anyway, all right.
I don't go there. It's a dark place.
Yeah,
man.
dude. Like it's a pit of just lost, mindless nothing.
Oh, sounds good.
All right, dude. Well, Aaron will be back with us next week, like we said. Oh, that was what me and Aaron are gonna have our Blitz showdown. I'm gonna make him at some point this week. And I'm probably going to do
stream it or just record it so we can put it on because we have to see his despair when you destroy him at Blitz, and then he's sad because you should bet something on it too. Like if you beat him at Blitz, he has to play Blitz every and record like at least one episode for the next 2 weeks or something.
Yeah, definitely. We're gonna we're definitely putting it out on media, so it'll be on the YouTube, or if we can hook it up with Twitch, which I could actually do both. So we're gonna do I'm gonna open it up so everybody can see the matchup between us. He's gonna hate me so bad. It's gonna be awesome.
Oh yeah. Well, he's got to do it, man. He's just got to.
Yep. All right, guys. So check all that out. Go to our YouTube, see those Pokemon if that interests you. See the Pokemon videos, and that's all I got for today.
Sounds good, boss.
All right, man. See you later.
Signing out.
Bye.
If you'd like to send us a message, you can email us at kitgpodcast@gmail.com or tweet us at kitgpodcast on Twitter.